everyone, welcome back to my channel, True Crime Files. I am going to be so glad tomorrow when my stand for my screen is, which will be coming tomorrow. I've been waiting ages for it to come in stock. I only waited longer because it was the cheapest, because I'm fed up with these normal patterned backgrounds you can get fading me out and in and all sorts of things. So I can't wait till tomorrow comes. Right, here we go. First housekeeper rules. Please click like and share and subscribe. That's the only three things I ask. Well, four things I ask anyone to do. The fourth one is to watch my videos. The more that you subscribe and share and like my videos, the better I get into the YouTube's algorithms. So I haven't listened to this, so I'm reacting to it at the same time as you. Please go to his channel and like and sub up to him if you can. Yeah, so this is about the breakthrough of the person identified to be the person that has taken Nancy Guthrie. I'd say kidnapper, but we don't know as such if it was him or if it was a second person. So I don't want to put people out there wrongly. But apparently they've identified the tattoo. A few weeks ago, it was shown that you could see just a little bit of a tattoo. And people were speculating it looks like a black cross. Excuse me, my cat's just jumped up. So yeah, so I should just go ahead and play the video for you. And please like and subscribe and share. Thank you. Right, let's play this.
An inmate at a penitentiary, and let's not forget they have a lot of time to kill.
He covered his face, not a ski mask pulled from a drawer at the last second, a balaclava, purpose-built face covering designed to leave nothing. He covered his hair, he covered his hands with tactical gloves, the kind that leave no fingerprints, that shed no fibers, that give the DNA labs nothing to work with. He wore a hoodie with the hood up, a jacket layered over it. He had an Ozark Trail backpack, Walmart's own brand, the most unremarkable bag you can buy in this country. He had a holster positioned deliberately. He was carrying a firearm. He knew exactly where the doorbell camera was. He moved toward it, not in a panic, not furtively, but with what former FBI Special Agent Brianna Fox described as a saunter, like that was his house. He reached up and covered the lens. He had thought of everything. He did not think of his right wrist. On February 10th, 2026, 9 days after Nancy Guthrie disappeared, the FBI released doorbell camera footage from the night she was taken. The images were not supposed to exist. Nancy's Nest doorbell had gone offline at 1:47 in the morning on February 1st. The system had been disconnected. Whatever the camera had seen in those hours was gone, or so it seemed. FBI agents partnered directly with Google, which owns the Nest camera company, and pulled the footage from residual data stored in Google's back-end servers. What they recovered changed this investigation. The footage shows a masked individual approaching Nancy Guthrie's front door. He is wearing a balaclava, gloves, and a jacket. He is carrying a backpack. He has a gun, and he reaches up and attempts to obstruct the camera, first with his gloved hand, then with something else, something organic that investigators would later submit to forensic analysis. The FBI described the person in that footage as the suspect in the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie. Male, approximately 5'9" to 5'10", average build, right-handed, and carrying, in addition to everything else, one of the most identifiable things a human being can carry: his identity, written in ink on the inside of his right wrist. Jim Clemente saw it. Clemente spent decades as an FBI profiler, a supervisory special agent who built profiles on some of the most complex criminal cases in American history.
Maybe then we might get a bit closer and it won't be too long before the suspect is identified, caught, and jailed for his actions.
When the doorbell footage dropped on February 10th, Clemente analyzed it. He took it to Fox News Digital. He went on News Nation's Brian Enton Investigates, and he said something worth understanding deeply.
He revealed that I believe he has a tattoo on the underside of his right wrist. Those are all really big mistakes for somebody who took the...
He revealed a tremendous amount, Clemente told Fox News Digital, so he's not a professional. Think about what that assessment means. This is a man who covered his face, his hair, his hands, his silhouette, who arrived in darkness, who caused the camera to go offline, who chose an untraceable bag, an unremarkable jacket, a holster designed for concealed carry, who, by almost every visible metric, prepared thoroughly. And yet, one of the most experienced FBI profilers in the country looks at that footage and says, not a professional.
His eyes and his eyebrows and his eyelashes and some of his mustache hair was all exposed. That could have fallen out. And
because a professional doesn't just cover the face, a professional covers the biography. And the biography of this individual, the specific story written in ink on his skin, was left on camera for the world to see. Clemente identified it publicly. He pointed directly to the suspect's right wrist in the footage and told Fox News Digital, that tattoo, if it is a tattoo, will be able to help them rule in and rule out people. Certainly, it will help the public. Rule in and rule out. That is investigative language. That is not television commentary. Clemente is describing an operational function, the tattoo as a filter, a narrowing tool that takes a suspect pool from millions of people down to thousands, from thousands to hundreds, from hundreds potentially to one. He also noted on Brian Enton Investigates that the suspect is probably in his 30s or 40s, that the bandies
generally, the way he moved, he didn't seem like he was in his 50s or 60s, but he was probably in his 30s or 40s.
Individual had, because he was not a professional, definitely exhibited pre- and post-offense behavior that people around him can see. That people who know this man should be watching for sudden stress, unexplained absences, behavioral changes, changes in appearance. He described a human being who is running right now, just not fast enough. Let's build this profile completely, because every piece of clothing in this footage is being traced simultaneously, and the tattoo is only one of the threads investigators are currently pulling. The FBI stated the suspect is male, approximately 5'9" to 5'10", with an average build. Those measurements came from forensic reconstruction using the known dimensions of Nancy's porch and doorway as reference points. The backpack. CNN's analysis identified the bag as an Ozark Trail hiker pack, a 25-liter pack that is part of Walmart's private label outdoor brand, sold exclusively through Walmart, which means every Walmart with surveillance cameras within a reasonable geographic radius of Tucson is a potential source of purchase data. Every employee.
But they could also have bought that backpack secondhand. So, he might not have just bought it recently just for this job. He could have bought it secondhand or anything. So I don't believe that, someone would necessarily go out and buy brand new stuff just for one job. I think they would probably try and keep the purse strings a bit tight and look online for secondhand. Maybe if, like here in the UK on Facebook, we got a tab called Marketplace. With Marketplace, you can list anything other than guns and pets for sale. So he might have picked it up from one of those sort of places. So we will see. But when they do capture the person, and I say when they do, because I would like to think they will, we still may not even know what happened to Nancy or where she may be now, because he could just say no comment through all of his police interviews with the police and the FBI's. So, he may take this to his secret to his dying grave. And, that would be really shame if it is. But I hope if they do catch him and identify him, he talks like a parrot.
Who might remember a transaction, every loyalty card that might have been swiped, the gun and holster. Investigators stated they are actively working on the specific model of the firearm and the holster type, both visible in the footage. The holster position, noted as unusual by several analysts, is being examined. Unusual positioning is a behavioral signature. The gloves. A black glove was recovered approximately 2 miles from Nancy's home. Forensic teams tested the DNA against CODIS, the FBI's national database of convicted offenders containing nearly 27 million DNA profiles. No match. The DNA from inside Nancy's home also produced no CODIS hit. That tells investigators something significant. This person may have a criminal history that was sealed, occurred in another jurisdiction, or occurred CODIS system, or his first recorded criminal contact with U.S. authorities is this case, and the footage itself revealed something investigators are not broadcasting loudly, but that CNN's reporting identified. The two images in the FBI release appear to show the suspect on two separate visits to Nancy Guthrie's home, one with the backpack and holster, one without. Different days, same masked figure. This was not opportunistic. This was surveillance. This was a man studying a target, and somewhere in those weeks of surveillance, he left an inch of his identity on camera. Legal disclaimer.
And also, they're still saying it's the same man that visited Nancy's house on 2 occasions. But if that's the case, he's worn 2 different dark jackets. I know when you get black and white images, it's not showing greys as black. It could be a slightly different color. But one of his jackets, he had a collar. And the second picture we saw, he didn't have a collar. So, you know, he must have worn slightly 2 jackets. That's what I believe anyway, from what I've seen hidden around.
Before we go further, an important note. No individual has been publicly named, identified, or charged in connection with Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Everything you're about to hear reflects named expert opinions and publicly sourced analysis, not official investigative findings. We don't name or speculate about specific individuals. We report what experts have said on the record. Darren Rosa, Winston, this crime. Stories with Nancy Grace team began analyzing this footage. They brought in someone who has spent 30 years learning how to read ink. His name is Darren Rosa. He goes by The Dude. He operates Rising Dragon Tattoos in New York City. He is not a law enforcement analyst. He is a craftsman who has spent 3 decades understanding exactly what tattoo placement, style, and execution communicate about the person wearing them. What Rosa was given was a zoomed-in screen grab from the FBI doorbell footage, a fragment, a sliver of ink visible between the bottom of the suspect's sleeve and the top of his glove, just the right wrist. And from that fragment, Rosa made a series of specific technical determinations. The first determination, the style is black and gray. In the tattoo world, black and gray is not simply a description of color. It is a specific genre with specific origin, specific cultural ownership, and specific geographic prevalence. Rosa told Nancy Grace directly, black and gray work is a very prevalent style, is not only in the southwestern area, but let's say the southwestern area, among gangs, cartels, they like to get black and gray. He then explained why that style.
In the UK, there is loads of people with black and grey tattoos, and we don't have cartels. We might have gangs, but I know someone that's got quite a lot of black and grey tattoos, and he's not doing it because he's in a gang or cartel or been in prison. He's just done it because he doesn't like colour. And, you know, he's got 2 full sleeves of black and grey tattoos. And, you know, he's a really nice man. So you can't judge a person by them just having a black and grey tattoo, because here in the UK, it is really popular. It really is popular because if you have colour tattoos, like I've got some colour tattoos, and one of my tattoos is faded. And that, when I first had it, if I can try and bring it up on the camera, let me come up on the screen. So this tattoo here of a hedgehog used to be a real bright purple colour, but it's gone like a very faint lilac colour. The only one, and wording can disappear as well, because on this one here, I don't know if you can see it. No, the camera's gone on it there, and that's another hedgehog, but the wording, Walter's name, is all sort like blurred now. So I wish I'd never had what, you know, her name wrote there, because you can hardly identify it as her name. But let's carry on anyway.
Style dominates that world.
Black and gray. If we're talking about a tattoo that was done in a penitentiary, these inmates don't have access.
If we're talking about a tattoo that was done in a penitentiary, Rosa said, these inmates don't have access to colored ink. This is a style that's been embellishing gangs for years, and they've honed this style, this very subtle gradation of ink, to a fine art. And this is even considered a hallmark of those who have moved up in the echelons. High-level black and gray tattooing is not just aesthetics. It is status documentation. It is a visual record of standing within a specific hierarchy. The refinement of the technique, the subtle gradation, is itself a marker of craftsmanship that carries prestige within a specific world. Rosa is not describing a weekend tattoo. He is describing work that communicates something about where this person has been and what they represent. He went further. He placed the suspect geographically. This is also the style of tattooing that withstands heavy sun exposure, Rosa said. These people are out in the sun in the southwestern states, Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, Texas. He is placing this suspect's tattoo culture in the geographic region where Nancy Guthrie lives.
Sun exposure. Because like I said, this style, fine line, typically single needle work.
And where she was taken. And then Rosa said the thing that turns this from a tattoo observation into an investigative crisis for the suspect. If this is all we're seeing, Rosa told Nancy Grace, this is most likely the continuation of something that covers this man's entire arm. A full sleeve, not an ankle tattoo, not an isolated forearm piece, an arm sleeve, ink that runs from the wrist upward, across the elbow toward the shoulder. And that conclusion carries an immediate implication that Rosa stated directly. Most likely, he's got tattoos on his hands. He's wearing this hooded mask, this balaclava. He's most likely got tattoos on his neck or maybe under his eye, because this is what they do.
Hands. He's wearing this hooded mask, this balaclava. Most likely he's got tattoos on his neck and maybe even something under his eye.
Stop. Read that back. The suspect wore a balaclava in warm temperatures in Tucson, Arizona in the early hours of February 1st. He wore tactical gloves. He wore a hooded jacket with the hood pulled tight. The standard analysis of all of that has been he was hiding his face. That's true. But Rosa is making a more specific argument. He wasn't just hiding his face. He was hiding the map. Under that balaclava, neck tattoos potentially, facial ink potentially, ink under or near the eye possibly. On his hands beneath those gloves, very likely. This man did not walk out of his house on February 1st looking unremarkable. He walked out of his house looking like a masked figure, because without the mask, without the gloves, he would have been immediately, unmistakably identifiable to anyone who had ever seen him. A face can be shaved, a hairstyle can be changed, but a full sleeve of black and gray prison-style tattooing, hands, arms, neck, face, cannot be tucked away in a closet, cannot be hidden at a gas station, cannot be covered by a hat. Rosa confirmed the summary assessment. I would say we are looking for a heavily tattooed individual, and he probably has neck tattoos. Investigation threads. The tattoo is one thread, but it is not the only one being pulled. Let's lay out the complete investigative picture, because the way these separate threads intersect is the story. Sheriff Chris Nanos told NBC's Today Show that his investigators are definitely closer to identifying a suspect. He said that publicly, with the cameras rolling, as a statement of investigative position. That is not casual reassurance. That is a sheriff telling the nation that something has changed internally, that the picture investigators are seeing is different from what is publicly visible. The DNA. Investigators recovered DNA.
Excuse me.
From inside Nancy's home. They recovered DNA from a glove found approximately 2 miles away from the property. Both samples were tested against CODIS, the FBI's national database containing nearly 27 million DNA profiles from convicted offenders. Neither produced a match. The absence of a CODIS match is frustrating, but C.C. Moore, the chief genetic genealogist at Parabon Nanolabs, told Fox News Digital directly, if the DNA can be analyzed through investigative genetic genealogy, it is just a matter of time until they identify who it belongs to. Investigative genetic genealogy, IgG, is the methodology that caught the Golden State Killer, Joseph James DeAngelo, after over 40 years. The same technique identified Brian Kohberger in the University of Idaho murders. It works by building a family tree around the unknown DNA profile, finding relatives who have voluntarily submitted DNA to consumer databases like GED Match or Ancestry, tracing backward through the family tree, narrowing to the person whose DNA was found at the scene. It is painstaking. It can take months, but the tools have improved dramatically. Genealogist Barbara Ray Venner, who worked the DeAngelo case, has said of those improvements, now there's just all kinds of really sophisticated tools to do that. There are challenges with the DNA in this case. Sheriff Nanos confirmed publicly that the sample from inside the home is mixed, possibly containing DNA from multiple people, and the lab reported technical challenges separating the profiles. He was candid. There are challenges with the sample, but he also said, our lab also knows that the technology is moving so fast. They think some of this stuff will resolve itself just in a matter of weeks, months. That is the DNA thread, actively being worked, not resolved, not closed, the timeline. There is something else that investigators have been quietly but persistently examining, the timeline of the evening before Nancy disappeared. What we know, Nancy Guthrie was last seen on the evening of January 31st. The family has been fully cleared by Sheriff Nanos. Savannah Guthrie, her two siblings, and their spouses are not suspects. The sheriff made that explicit. But the investigation of the hours leading up to the disappearance, who was with Nancy, who drove her, who was in and around that house, remains an active area of inquiry. Ashley Banfield's investigative reporting on Drop Dead Sirius identified Tommaso Cioni, Savannah Guthrie's brother-in-law, as the individual who drove Nancy home that evening. Cioni has not been named as a suspect. He has not been charged. He has not been arrested. We are stating what has been publicly reported from named investigative journalism, nothing more. What is accurate to say is this: the question of who last saw Nancy, who knew her routine, who would have known that house would be accessible in the early hours, that question is still open. Digital forensics expert Heather Barnhart, who worked on the Brian Kohberger investigation and is a specialist at the SANS Institute and Celebrite, offered a statement to NBC News that applies directly to this case. People forget how much their data spreads across devices, she said. So the same thing that makes investigations hard makes it hard for criminals to clean up. And then your phone is the silent witness to your life. It knows everything you do. Whoever took Nancy Guthrie had a phone, almost certainly. That phone was in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson before February 1st, possibly multiple times, if the surveillance visit evidence is accurate. It potentially pinged cell towers, recorded location data, captured purchase history, search history, communication records that would draw a line from this man to this house. The Crime Stories with Nancy Grace podcast confirmed that investigators are currently seeking data from both Google and Apple related to the case. So what can the FBI actually do with this tattoo? Let's be specific, because this is the part that competing coverage has consistently left incomplete. The United States law enforcement infrastructure maintains multiple tattoo registries and identification databases. The FBI's Next Generation Identification System, the NGI, contains not just fingerprints and facial recognition data, but tattoo records. Every arrest booking that photographs visible tattoos feeds that system. The National Gang Center, operated by the Bureau of Justice Assistance, catalogs gang tattoo imagery and iconography, the specific designs associated with known criminal organizations, their placement, their symbolic meaning, their geographic prevalence. Individual states, including Arizona, Texas, California, and New Mexico, maintain their own gang intelligence databases. These state systems communicate with federal databases. They are searchable. They are cross-referenced. Here is how the tattoo query works in practice. Rosa identified the style, black and gray. He identified the geography, southwestern United States, gang and cartel prevalence. He identified the likely scope, a full sleeve with neck and face ink. Each of those parameters is a filter that investigators apply to a database search. Black and gray style narrows the stylistic category. Southwestern gang or cartel prevalence narrows the organizational connection. Full sleeve placement narrows the profile. If the design itself contains identifiable imagery, iconography that corresponds to a known gang's visual language, the search narrows further still, from millions to...
What they want to do with that close-up of that tattoo is put that out all over the internet and maybe on billboards, because some people may not have access to the internet or don't go on the internet. So I think their next step now is to put that tattoo right out there, because someone somewhere will know who's got that type of tattoo or that style of tattoo. I can see the bad side of things if they put that tattoo out everywhere so everyone has access to it. The person with that tattoo may use like makeup when he's out and about to cover the tattoo up, because you can get some really good like women's foundation makeup that is really excellent in covering up tattoos, and even coloured skin I've seen where a black person has used this like cover up foundation, and it, you know, you would never know that person was of a black race. So, you know, if there's suspects listening to all the news and thinks, oh Christ, my tattoo's out there now, I need to try and find a way to cover it up. And obviously out in Pima County and that where the sun is really hot, you wouldn't be wearing gloves. So you can't cover it up by gloves. So the only way forward is to either have it lasered off, which takes several sessions, or to have it covered up via makeup. But carry on playing anyway.
Thousands, from thousands to hundreds, from hundreds potentially to a specific name in a specific booking record. Former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam appeared on the Megyn Kelly Show on March 18th, just one day before this video was produced, and made the operational case directly. He expressed measured skepticism about some of the specific interpretations, noting that many people in Arizona get sleeve tattoos. He is right that a fragment alone is not a definitive identification, but then Gilliam said this: even that small detail, if someone has been arrested and they have tattoos, those tattoos get recorded. So there could be a database that matches that feature, and someone just has to connect the dots. That is exactly what is happening. There is one additional investigative thread in this case that has received almost no coverage from mainstream outlets. The Crime Stories with Nancy Grace podcast flagged it in recent episodes. A utility box near Nancy Guthrie's home was vandalized, and investigators brought in tag specialists, tattoo and graffiti analysts to examine it. The connection between graffiti culture and tattoo culture is not coincidental. Within the gang and cartel world, the same iconography that appears on skin also appears on walls. The same visual language that Rosa identified in the suspect's wrist tattoo sometimes appears in graffiti, marking territory, and affiliation. Tag analysts are specifically trained to read that language, to identify gang structure and geographic territory through marks that others dismiss as random vandalism. Investigators brought in specialists equipped to read gang and tattoo imagery. That is a deliberate investigative choice that aligns directly with the tattoo profile that Darren Rosa articulated. These are not parallel investigations. They are converging on the same question: who and what organization, and what does that mean for where Nancy Guthrie is right now? Let's bring all of this back to where the investigation stands today. DNA in the genealogy pipeline, retail traces on clothing and the backpack. back, gate analysis on the footage, digital forensics requests to Google and Apple, a tattoo registry query running against federal and state gang intelligence databases, TAG, specialists examining the vandalism near Nancy's home. Cece Moore is the chief genetic genealogist at Parabon Nano Labs. Her firm has worked on thousands of cold cases. She told Fox News Digital something that should be understood as a statement of professional certainty, not optimism. Thanks to the power of investigative genetic genealogy, it is just a matter of time now until they discover who that DNA belongs to, and the investigators are able to pursue those leads and hopefully provide answers to Nancy's family. Just a matter of time. Not we hope to. Not if conditions allow. A statement of investigative process. Genetic genealogy does not fail when there is sufficient genetic material. It only takes longer when the database connections are more distant. The technology advances faster than the suspect can run. And then there is the money. The FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the location of Nancy Guthrie or the arrest and conviction of those responsible. The Guthrie family is offering a $1 million personal reward, $1 million, for a single call to a tip line. Loyalty is finite, silence has a price, and the community that this suspect almost certainly belongs to, the community that Rosa placed him in with his analysis, runs on a very specific economy of trust. $1 million is more than that trust is worth to a lot of people. Let's go back to where we started. He covered his face, his hair, his hands, his neck. He prepared. He studied that house. He came back. He knew where the camera was. He reached up in the dark and covered the lens. He thought about every inch of himself that could give him away, except one. That inch is now in federal databases. It has been analyzed by a 30-year veteran of the tattoo industry who placed it in a specific style, a specific culture, a specific part of this country. It has been flagged by one of the most experienced retired FBI profilers currently operating in public media. It is being cross-referenced against gang tattoo registries and arrest records. It is being compared to imagery recovered from the vandalized utility box near Nancy's home. It is being seen right now, today, by someone who recognizes it. That is always how these cases close, not in a single dramatic breakthrough moment, not in a confession extracted under pressure in a gray room. The closing comes when the pressure reaches a person in the suspect's circle who knows what he looks like with the gloves off and the mask off, and that person decides that silence costs more than speaking. 47 days. The tattoo has been decoded. The DNA is in the genealogy pipeline. The retail traces are running. The suspect is out there. Somewhere in this region, changed his appearance by now, looking over his shoulder every time he leaves the house.
Will be.
Every day is another opportunity for someone who knows something to decide they've had enough of skin. He left it on camera.
As the saying goes, see something, say something. Doesn't matter how big or how small it may be.
The FBI has it. The databases have it. The experts have it. The public has it. That may be everything. If you have any information about Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, call 1-800-CALL-FBI. That is 1-800-225-5324. You can also
Right. So what do you
discovered a
stop this? So what do you all think about that then? Let's take this off. Let's hope they can catch them soon, because this has been going on way too long. Some of you may not know that there's a petition going around to get Sheriff Nanos out, because he's made several critical mistakes. I don't think he personally tells the truth. I know police enforcement have to keep some information to themselves, but I mean lie him. You know, 1 minute, for example, like 1 minute he told the residents, no, it's not a one-off thing, you know, it's a one-off thing, you're all safe. And then a little while later he does another press conference and he's telling people, neighbors, that they should be worried. You know, so how can you tell one thing and then something totally different the next? So I can quite understand why people have lost confidence in him. So, right, thank you very much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and share. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.